Do you ever feel overwhelmed by the ever-changing world of technology? Tech It Out can help make some sense of it all. Breaking down geek speak into street speak, technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman covers consumer technology each week for every listener. Mark tackles the latest news, reviews, and how-tos to help you understand what's hot, what's not, and why.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tech It Out, episode 134. Hope you're having a great weekend so far. And welcome to the new affiliate that's now taking the Tech It Out show. The station is WFYL AM in the Market, Philadelphia. Welcome to the family. Thrilled to have you along. On that note, you may be listening to this show on your local radio station, or perhaps you've subscribed to the Tech It Out podcast. Either way, thank you for tuning in. And we do have a great Tech It Out show planned for you today. In a moment from now, we're going to talk with a sleep expert, a doctor, on why you shouldn't bring your tech to the bedroom. We'll catch up with the president of Cadillac this hour, Steve Carlisle, to learn about the new Teched Out Escalade. If it's cold out where you live, we'll talk with Uno about its heated jackets and what separates them from others in the market. And finally, we'll touch base with Sensible Vision. They're a Florida-based company. We're going to chat with them about facial recognition and surveillance cameras. Are they a good thing for society or an invasion of your privacy? You'll learn what Sensible Vision's tech can do and all that it brings to the table as well. All of this and more on this week's Tech It Out, powered by Asus. I'll tell you more about them shortly, but let's kick off the show. According to Reviews.org, a market research firm that specializes in technology, as many as 2/3 of Americans, or about 66% of them, admit to going to bed with their smartphone. Are you one of them? Well, I wrote a piece this weekend for USA Today on the 3 main problems with bringing your devices to bed or on your night table. And for that article, I also caught up with an expert whom we have on the line right now. Joining us to chat is Dr. Harneet Walia from the Cleveland Clinic, a nonprofit academic medical center in Cleveland, Ohio. Welcome to the show, Dr. Walia.
Thanks for having me.
So let's talk about tech in the bedroom. I mean, I think it's no secret that today, 2020, we are using technology all the time. It used to just be, hey, you shouldn't maybe have your TV on in your bedroom, and that was the case for many years. But now we've got smartphones and tablets and e-readers and smartwatches. Are we bringing these things to the bedroom?
You're right. There is so much technology around us in this modern era, and we are certainly taking it to our bedroom, and not only to the bedroom, but we are taking it to our sleep as well. And it can have a lot of negative consequences on a good quality sleep.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. I think the first thing that I'd like to ask you about, Dr. Walia, is the fact that these bright screens may prohibit the body from creating melatonin, which is naturally produced to help you feel relaxed. Is that correct?
That's correct. So these smartphones and tablets, they can emit what we call it blue light, which can suppress the natural hormone, which is melatonin. And melatonin is known to produce and promote sleep, and is also known to have some circadian rhythm effects. So when the blue light is emitted and melatonin is suppressed as a result, we are not able to get to sleep at a proper time, and neither we are able to get a good quality sleep.
So it's not just a matter of taking longer to fall asleep, but it's also having a good sleep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What do you think about these phones and tablets that have introduced an anti-blue light filter? Sometimes it's called a night mode, or, it's some technology in the display that is meant to combat that problem about, reading late at night.
I think the data to suggest that they have not been that effective in reducing the blue light, and the deleterious effects would still persist.
Okay, so it may not help much, but it's probably better than not using it at all, perhaps. But yeah. I think another issue, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Walia, that you may also be stimulated by what you're reading or watching as well. So it's not really tied to the fact that it's stopping your body from producing melatonin, but you may just be engaged with emails or a movie you're watching on your iPad in bed, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It happens with me all the time. So it can keep our mind mentally engaged, psychologically engaged when we know we have those phones right next to us, when we know we are connected to the technology. We can check those work-related emails, and we can check the, social media or any other website, which can really stimulate the brain, and we would be more active and awake, and it would have an effect on promoting good sleep. And the other thing is we always sort of feel that we need to be connected. We don't need to be logged off. We don't need to be away from the technology. That's the other feeling that we always take with us when we're going to sleep, and that's not good for sleep.
We're chatting with sleep disorders specialist Dr. Harneet Walia. She's at the Cleveland Clinic, a not-for-profit academic medical center in Cleveland, Ohio. On a related note, we really don't know what the long-term effects are of having radiation, like cellular or Wi-Fi radiation, so close to our head overnight. Like, why take a chance, at the risk of sounding preachy, why have a smartphone beside your bed or on your pillow and having emit radiation overnight so close to your head 7 days a week, 30-odd days a month? It's probably not a great idea. That's just my 2 cents. And a related concern, aside from the light of your phone keeping you up and with being stimulated about what you're reading or accessing or what you're missing out on, FOMO, fear of missing out. But there's also those long-term health effects that are still a big question mark. What about having a TV on and then setting a timer? So let's say people like to unwind by having the news on or, something like that. But is it okay if you set the TV to turn off after, say, 30 or 60 minutes?
That's a reasonable option. I think it comes down to individual. If we think it is okay for them and it's not causing any sort of sleep issues, that would be acceptable. But if somebody who has insomnia or has trouble falling asleep, in those situations, I would totally cut out the TV maybe 30 minutes before the bedtime.
Yeah, great advice. And I was going to ask you, second last question. What can we do shy of not bringing our tech to the bedroom, giving yourself a bit of a buffer between the last time you use technology and before you close your eyes? Any other tips that you'd recommend?
Following good sleep hygiene is very important. Maintaining a good, consistent sleep-wake schedule during the work days and during the weekends is also very important. And maintaining a cool, comfortable environment and relaxing environment before you go to bed can also help. Perhaps taking a shower an hour or two before the bedtime, avoiding these electronics, avoiding caffeine after noon or so. All these things could help. And also we tell people, if possible, to avoid naps. If somebody has to take naps, it should be during the earlier part of the day and should be limited to 20 minutes or so.
Right. Otherwise, it could affect your overnight sleep.
Absolutely.
When it comes to alcohol, I understand that while it may help you fall asleep faster, like a glass of wine, it could actually be a more disrupted sleep while you're sleeping.
Yes. In the initial part of the sleep, it could promote sleep, but at the latter part of the sleep, it actually could have more, be associated with more sleep fragmentation, some dreams, abnormal dreams. So we do not recommend alcohol, especially closer to the bedtime.
Finally, what about tech that is supposed to help you sleep better, ironically, such as Fitbits or smartwatches that analyze your sleep patterns and provide some data that you may want to share with your physician, or maybe a clock radio that's high tech that can also play old radio shows or white noise or anything like that?
There is varying data out there regarding different technological devices in terms of how validated they are in calculating the exact amount of sleep and stages of sleep. So I generally still look at the patient and ask the patient about their sleep history. I think for me, that's the number one thing. And if they have brought in some additional data, I do look at that. But for me, again, what patient is telling me counts more than anything else.
Fantastic. I can see that anecdotal information being very useful to you. Is there somewhere, Dr. Walia, people can read about your work or maybe get some more tips from the Cleveland Clinic? There
is a Cleveland Clinic sleep website where we have fact sheets related to different and common sleep disorders that provide some very useful information regarding the sleep and the services that are offered from the Cleveland Clinic.
Right. And that website is clevelandclinic.org, O-R-G, and that's where you'll find what's called the health library there. So very handy. Thank you so much, Dr. Walia. I've enjoyed chatting with you. I appreciate your time and expertise.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
And as I mentioned, the article I wrote in USA Today this weekend is about bringing your tech to bed, why you shouldn't. It's a summary, including some quotes from Dr. Walia. So I hope you enjoyed the article. If you caught it, feel free to share it with friends and family. Speaking of sharing, if you like Tech It Out and you think a colleague, a friend, a family member could enjoy the program as well, be sure to leave a review. And you can also share the episode or the entire podcast, in fact, with those who matter, just from within your favorite podcast platform. And I do appreciate the support. Speaking of support, this program is powered by ASUS, the company that creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops, desktops, monitors, smartphones, tablets, smartwatches, and much more. They do a lot more than you think, more than just the laptops and desktops powered by ASUS. For those in search of incredible, visit asus.com/US/radio for more info. That's asus.com/US/radio. When we return on Tech It Out, we're going to sit down with Steve Carlisle, the president of Cadillac, to learn about the new Escalade. We'll be right back.
Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want. Find the Tech It Out podcast at iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. What a treat to connect with Steve Carlisle here at CIAS, the auto show. Steve, of course, is the president of Cadillac since April 2018, if I'm not mistaken. And yesterday, Steve, Cadillac took the wraps off its 2021 Cadillac Escalade at a fun event that you hosted. You know I like to focus on the tech inside of these vehicles, so please let's focus on that. Tell us about the new Escalade, and thanks again for joining us today.
Well, it's great to be back, Mark, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Escalade. And really, it's taking our tech game to an entirely new level. And I guess for listeners, we happen to be sitting in one, and I'll just hit some of the highlights. So one of them is this terrific 38-inch OLED screen, which is a touch screen. So we took this whole conversation about size of screens and tipped it on its edge, literally. So we have a completely different form factor and functionality that people just haven't experienced before. And we put that together with a new AKG studio reference audio system, 36 speakers, 18 channels through the amp, and a front and rear bass box. So it's fantastic and it's the first automotive application of AKG, which are very well known and famous for their studio equipment with musicians.
So just to recap, a 38-inch curved OLED screen inside of the vehicle, absolutely stunning. There's some touch screens as well. And then the AKG sound system is really something. And yeah, some of our listeners may have AKG earbuds or headphones, or if they're a professional musician, they're certainly used to that brand, but now in a vehicle. And now let's talk Super Cruise. So let's first explain what that is, and then we can chat about what's new, Steve.
Yeah. So Super Cruise is a hands-free driving capability that our Cadillac cars have, and we're rolling it out across the line. So what it allows you to do is we've mapped over 200,000 miles of road across North America.
They're like highways, right?
Yeah, they're freeways, they're highways, and some secondary roads, but it allows you to drive on those roads without your hand on the wheel, providing you're paying attention. We have a driver attention monitor with the car, so it does distance keeping and lane centering and steering and all of that. And the feedback's been tremendous from consumers. So
yeah, I had a chance to test drive it, Steve, and I was blown away at the technology. And I've driven other, let's call it semi-autonomous aids, even though I know that's not the language that Cadillac usually uses, hands-free. Right. But yeah, it'll brake and gas for you, and it'll keep you in your lane, and that's just the beginning. Yesterday, you talked on stage about some new advancements.
Yeah, and so the one that we're adding with this application is what we call lane change on demand. So you can, with the turn lever, as though you wanted to change the lane, and it will complete that maneuver for you when it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
And that's an example of we're going to continue to add those use cases. We want to be able to handle as many maneuvers as possible from point to point.
It sounds like science fiction, but one day, and probably one day soon, you're going to climb into your Escalade and you're going to say with your voice where you'd like to go, and it's going to take you from point A to point B, as you said.
And that's the goal.
Yeah, right.
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
Sooner than later. I think it's a matter of when, not if. Very exciting. We are chatting with Steve Carlisle. He's the president of Cadillac. We're inside of a 2021 Cadillac Escalade at the Canadian International Auto Show. Steve came up and he's had a busy week, first launching the vehicle in LA with none other than Spike Lee, then back to Detroit, then up to Toronto. So no doubt your voice is a little strained, but I appreciate you spending some time. Just a couple of other questions. We've been talking about the near future of Cadillac. Do you foresee a day where it could be electrified?
Cadillac is a brand. Yeah, we've said pretty publicly, at least I have, that this decade that we're in, the 2020s, is really exciting. It's the second time we've been in the 20s as a brand, as a 115-year-old brand. So we're starting as an internal combustion engine brand. We'll exit as a battery electric vehicle brand. So it's literally the end of the ice age for Cadillac.
Yeah.
And we're really excited about that.
I love that. I have heard you say that, and I love that line. So it could be electrified as many of the other vehicles in the GM family are.
Yeah.
So no date, though. Just sort of stay tuned.
We'll make our next reveal on April the 2nd. So we're really looking forward to that.
Okay, as am I. Before we wrap up, I did mention earlier about Spike Lee as a sort of brand ambassador. Tell us what that partnership is like.
Well, we've worked with Spike for a number of years, supporting his causes and his production company. And so as we were thinking about launching the Escalade in LA, Escalade's an iconic car. It's the flagship for the brand. So who better than one of the most iconic storytellers in the world. So, we approached Spike, and it was one of those, what if we did something like this kind of thing? So, and we're really thrilled with how it turned out and how it's resonating.
I like how you modestly joked on stage. Why is someone like as cool as Spike Lee hanging out with me? But I love some of the photos that you shared with me.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. We had a lot of fun.
Yeah, great.
It was great.
So let's wrap up then on availability and price. If it's been announced, when will the 2021 Cadillac Escalade be ready for customers to order? And where can we learn more about the vehicle as well?
Yeah, well, we'll be starting production in the third quarter, so it should be at dealers in the fall. That's the current outlook on the situation. In terms of pricing, we'll announce that a little closer to production, but notionally the starting at prices, as we call them, will be similar to the current car. And we have more features and availability, so you can walk it up as you wish. So in the meantime, you can go to Cadillac.com.
All right, Steve, congratulations on the launch. Great to see you, and safe travels back.
Yep, thanks, Mark.
Super nice guy, Steve Carlisle. And we really were sitting in a Cadillac. We found the Escalade, the 2021 at the International Auto Show. We found that it was the quietest way to do that interview. Not to mention his voice was, as you can see, a little compromised. So we did the best we could. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed that. When we return on Tech It Out, we're going to learn about Uno heated jackets. Stay with us.
Want to follow Mark? Google him. Mark with a C and Saltzman with a Z. Breaking down geek speak into street speak. This is Tech It Out. Tech It Out with technology columnist, author, and TV personality Mark Saltzman.
You're listening to Tech It Out on the Radio America Network. It's February, which means it's pretty darn cold out for many of us. But in 2020, you shouldn't have to be chilled to the bone when you're out and about. Technology can play a role in keeping you warm outside, and that includes heated clothing. While it may not be new, it is getting better all the time. We're now going to learn about Uno. It's a line of outerwear. We've got Simon Au with us. He's the co-founder of Uno. Welcome to the show, Simon.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on the show today.
Why don't we start right at a high level? Please tell us what Uno's heated jackets are all about.
Yeah, we really create this line of outerwear really through inspiration by other brands like Canada Goose and Nobis. We really want to focus on making something that's lightweight, something that's all season, and really want to get into that heated alternative to traditional down jacket. Being living in the northern part of the world, we often find ourselves having multiple jacket between 10 degrees, 0 degree, then negative 20 degree. So like you said, having a heated technology really able to kind of have one jacket for just both from 10 to negative 10.
Okay. And of course, we're talking Celsius here, not Fahrenheit. But
of course,
that would be really cold if that was the case. But so obviously, there's some electronics here keeping you warm. Can you, without getting too technical, tell us how they work?
Being a heated jacket, when you hear technology in a jacket, you obviously think about having wires or some sort of metallic plate in the jacket and something like that. So at a very high level, what we try to do is we engineer our own heating pad to be soft, lightweight. We also embed them into the jacket where you can't feel them. So, they're really graphene-inspired technology where they really generate heat. Through the surface of the jacket, it will pass through your the innerwear that you're wearing, and then eventually, warm up your body.
Okay, because I've tried some other heated jackets in the past, and yes, you can feel the wires, or you can feel the battery pack right in the front. So you're saying with your technology, it's the same idea. You've got a battery that's charging up these, I don't know what you call them, sensors or panels throughout the jacket to keep you warm, but you don't feel them like when you're wearing the jacket.
Yeah, we actually, did a lot of tests to make sure that, the battery pocket that we put is in an ergonomic position that you don't feel it. We also select batteries that is really light. It's only about 160 grams.
So very light. And how hot can it get?
It can get pretty warm, It's, depending on if you decide to heat yourself up or things like that. I would say the heating pad typically runs at about 50 to 55 degrees Celsius. And that's really sufficient to kind of, allow you to kind of stand outside at negative 20 temperature for, almost 35 minutes to an hour for a lot of people. For a lot of our customers.
Are you looking at a certain market, like people who work outdoors, or is it meant to be just for anybody who wants some high-tech outerwear to keep you warm when you're outside?
Yeah, that's actually a fantastic question. So, heated jacket is, quite common in sport or, the hunting area. I think actually that's where the origin of these jacket comes in. Our clientele is a little bit more of a, urban type, urban dweller that we're aiming for. So, people who, have to walk their dogs, people who have to go to work, drive, but don't want the bulkiness of a down jacket. I think this is perfect for them, with a style that they can go to work with and also go out on a, weeknight and weekend.
All right. So the name of the company is Unoo, but it's spelled UNOO. And I understand you've got one model, but a couple of different colors. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Right now we offer a stone gray, a really nice glossy gray, and a marine blue. They're both insulated jacket with waterproof and windproof shell. It also features things like water-resistant zippers, fleece pocket, a tape seam construction. Both color also feature the same 4-zone heating element and lightweight battery.
Is it a large jacket? Like, does it go past your hips, or does it stop around there?
It stops around, your hip area, probably just a little under it.
Okay. All right. Your waist or hips. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, we are chatting with Simon Au. He's the co-founder of Unoo. It's a company that has created some new outerwear with a high-tech twist. Do your jackets have any extra features like the ability to charge up a smartphone?
Yeah. So the battery bank can, be used to charge up your cell phone if you choose to. It also provides 3 levels of heatings, so you can adjust accordingly depending on what you're using it for.
And it can, just to confirm, if you have an iPhone or an Android phone in your pocket and it's running low on battery, you can plug it into the battery pack as well?
That's right.
Okay, cool. Now, let's say you've got the heat on the highest setting. It's really cold out, so you're cranking it up. How long can that battery last?
At high setting, it's probably about 2 to 3 hours. At a low setting, is probably up to 6 hours. This is all really dependent on the the ambient temperature that you're going up against.
Got it. And then, like the jackets that I've reviewed in the past, you have to charge the jacket up, or at least the battery pack if you want to take it out, every night or every couple of nights. Is that the case? And how long does it take to charge up that external battery that goes inside the jacket?
Yeah, so it takes about probably 2 hours depending on the charger that you use with the battery. And like I said, it can provide up to 6 hours of continuous usage. One thing that we do notice that with other heating jacket is that typically they're not insulated to begin with, so they're usually just like a windbreaker or something of that sort. Our customer tend to really heat themselves up and then go outside, and then they turn off the heat probably about 20 minutes after, once the body heat up and can generate heat on itself.
Okay, cool. And I was going to ask you about some of the differentiating features between the Uno line of heated outerwear and other companies out there. Are there any other differences? Would you say price is a competitive advantage? And that's what we'll end off on is price and of course, a website. But is there anything else that you feel yours are really sort of different than the competition?
Yeah, being I think one of the key things that really set Uno apart as a micro brand for outerwear is our attention to detail, and being really inspired by other Canadian brands. We use some of the most premium material available, making it really soft to touch, extremely comfortable to wear. It's something that you would expect in walking to any Canadian mall. I think that's a huge differentiator between us and other heated jacket brand.
Okay, very cool. And then finally, how much do the jackets cost and where can we learn more about them?
Yeah, so the Uno Wind jacket starts at $299. You can buy it at unoo.ca. I think in the near future, you can also expect them at retailers.
All right, uno.ca, but again, it's spelled UNOO.ca, and you deliver both to the U.S. and to Canada. Simon Au, thank you very much. Good luck with the Uno line of heated outerwear. Very exciting. I can't wait to check it out myself, but thank you for taking the time to talk to my audience about this.
No problem. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Tech It Out is powered by Asus, the company that creates technology for today and tomorrow's smart life, including its line of award-winning laptops like the ZenBooks and VivoBooks and Chromebooks in their family, as well as their game-related gear, the ROG or Republic of Gamers. We'll be right back with Sensible Vision when we talk facial recognition cameras. Stay with us.
Breaking down geek speak into street speak. Tech It Out, hosted by Mark Saltzman.
Welcome back to Tech It Out. Facial recognition technology has been around since the 60s, believe it or not, but as you'd expect, it's evolved significantly over the last couple of years, including the use of artificial intelligence on the back end, on the other side of the camera lens. If you've ever used your face to log into your smartphone or confirm your identity in an app, then you know it offers convenience. Plus, it can also help curb crime when security cameras can detect suspects before they can inflict more harm. And there are many other applications for facial recognition. And yes, some privacy advocates are concerned that we're going too far with this technology as well. So let's have a frank discussion about facial recognition with George Brostoff. He's joining us on the line. He's the CEO and co-founder of Sensible Vision. Welcome to the program, George.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you for having me.
You reminded me that I wrote about one of your apps for USA Today back in 2013, so going back 7 years already. So no doubt you've been in this space for a while.
Well, in fact, we started shipping our facial recognition solutions way back in 2006. And the company was actually founded in 2005 with the whole idea of making devices easier to interact and more secure. So it's an area with AI and facial recognition we've been doing way back since 15 years now.
Yeah, that's great. And I thought you'd be a great person to chat with about the pros, but also the cons of facial recognition. But thanks for giving us a bit of background on Sensible Vision. And for our listeners, by the way, it's one word, capital S and capital V for Sensible Vision. So I can see several benefits, and I did highlight a couple of them in my introduction, George. Let's go over what you think are some of the key reasons why facial recognition is a good thing in society today.
Well, I think facial recognition offers convenience, it offers security, and it offers, as you mentioned, personalization, and also transparency. So let's take a look at each one of those. Security is something that, while we all talk about, it's much harder to get people to accept and use. So if you can have a method of entering in information that gives you your credentials, it's highly secure, yet at the same time transparent, meaning you don't have to take out a card, you don't have to type in a password, you don't have to basically put your finger down to have a fingerprint reader read it. You get much higher adoption. In addition, that means the devices that you interact with can personalize to you in a very easy and simple way, such as getting into an automobile and having it adjust the volume that you like, the radio station you like, your seats in position. It's just tremendous. So we're talking about identity, we're talking about personalization, we're talking about transparency, which really makes things with a much higher user acceptance because things adapt to the user.
Right. And I don't want to get too technical, but we're talking about biometrics identification, using a part of your body to identify you, right? So in this case, your face, but others have used a fingerprint before to log into their phone or to access or to confirm a payment when you're buying something online, something like that. But we're talking about using your face. So it's very natural. It's one of a kind. And the technology is getting more and more accurate over the years.
That's correct. And I think what you just said is very interesting because it's that same transparency and convenience that makes people a little concerned about the security of it from the standpoint of privacy. Because used in the incorrect way, now it's very easy for governments to potentially track your whereabouts. And that's where a lot of the concerns have been raised by the privacy advocates. Yet at the same time, one of the things I like to point out is that there are other technologies that aren't as obvious to us as our faces that those same organizations can use to make an even better job of tracking us. So as we talk about any one technology, whether it be face recognition, we really should be expanding the discussion to privacy in general with all technologies, because so many others are just as invasive or more so, because face recognition only works where there's a camera. Many of the other techniques, such as your smartphones, work when you're in buildings, your own bedroom with no cameras. And it's equally important to make sure that we have privacy laws to protect all of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like any technology, it can be used or abused. A 3D printer, for example, can create a custom prosthetic for a child to be able to run and kick a soccer ball. But that same machine can create a gun, right? So you can't blame the technology. It's how, the people behind it are using or abusing it. So I know that the protesters in Hong Kong, they wear, when you look at the photos online or in a newspaper, you see that they're wearing masks because they know that the state, the Chinese government is looking at your face, and they're trying to identify who the protesters are. So that's why they're wearing masks to cover it. But some fear that we are moving towards a big brother state with cameras everywhere. But you bring up a good point. We leave a digital footprint wherever we are online, digital breadcrumbs, and even our location information on our mobile devices reveal a lot more than what your face can reveal.
And I think a corollary to this is it also has to do with when the technology is being accepted in the market. Had Thomas Edison, as one of the original innovators of sound recording, had a technology that could be used by everyone on many devices all at once, then audio recording would be facing the same challenges we face today with technologies such as face recognition. Basically, though, because the audio recording was with a very specific device, it lent itself to basically recording once and then playback. So we all got to enjoy music and other technologies such as that without having to worry about privacy, that someone's recording my conversation. All of that came later, which allowed the regulations to, over time, address that. We just have to be a little bit more proactive in coming up with appropriate privacy regulations now.
It's interesting context. Thank you, George. We'll continue chatting with Sensible Vision when we return on Tech It Out. You're listening to the Radio America Network. One more block coming up right after this short break.
Follow Mark Saltzman on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Listen to Tech It Out whenever you want.
We're chatting with George Brostoff. He's the CEO and co-founder of Sensible Vision. So let's now talk about the company. Tell us about some of the verticals that Sensible Vision is in. I believe it's like fintech and Internet of Things or IoT. And please tell us who some of your clients are. I understand there's some big names out there like Dell and Sony and Logitech.
Yes, so we're working with a lot of companies who are going to be putting the technology into the kinds of things that many consumers will be interacting on a daily basis. The key to our positioning in the market is it's all opt-in. This addresses a lot of the privacy concerns because rather than being used for surveillance, the kinds of applications you'll be seeing rolled out this year from our partners that I can't mention at this point because the products haven't been released would be like walking up to your house and having it let your child in, but no one else, or basically letting you gain access to your house. Another application really comes down to loyalty, because instead of taking out all those loyalty cards, if you opt in at a particular retailer, you can simply walk up and be granted your loyalty and any benefits you get without having to take out those cards. Later on, I do think we'll be seeing things for financial transactions, although because there's banks and many other different organizations involved, unlike in Asia and particularly in China, we're likely to see this in the West go a little more slowly. But our applications right now are going to be a lot released in identity management so that you won't have to have keys anymore. You won't have to basically take out your finger to touch to get into devices. And those are the kinds of things that we do. And in particular, in our case, we're very heavily in development and shipping 3D face recognition, because that's something that we started way back in 2009. And Apple, as you may recall, released this in 2017 with the iPhone. And it gets around the challenges that you'll hear a lot of people talk about where there seems to be racial bias. Well, the racial bias is controlled by, has been listed in a lot of publications, by the databases that are used, but it's also by having sufficient quality data. Because if the cameras can't resolve the information and the detail on who they're looking at, then essentially you can get errors and mistakes. With 3D cameras, we're actually getting depth information. And that depth information follows the contours of people's faces, which makes it independent of the complexion of people's skin. It also allows us to deal with changing makeup. So if a person changes their makeup dramatically, it won't affect the accuracy. They'll still be recognized. And someone putting on heavy makeup to try to look at like the same person won't get in. And even face masks won't get in. So you get the benefits of all that transparency with very high security.
And they can't be fooled with a paper photo of somebody as well, which I've been able to do with some older smartphones that claim to be extra secure. I've been able to fool it with a photo of someone to log them in. But so it's obviously getting better. As we wrap up, George, what is Sensible Vision's secret sauce, if you will? There are many other camera and facial recognition technology companies out there. What is the key to your success, do you think?
Well, we've put over 40 million licenses in the field over the years, and I think the key to success is making the technology work in the real world so that it's convenient for the user. It works under the real world conditions where there's no light, bright light, where people change their looks. Those are the kinds of things that happen. And then adding innovation so that it goes beyond just letting someone in. So, for example, for some of the things we're doing with healthcare, one of the things that is a challenge is if you check in at the doctor's office, right now you have to type in your name and so forth. Well, now you can just walk right up and your face will grant you access and you're checked into your doctor's office. But the moment you step away, it'll secure your patient information, which means you don't have to worry about anybody else seeing it. And that's something that other technologies really can't do because a fingerprint doesn't know when you've stepped away.
Awesome. George, thank you very much for your time. Very interesting. What's the best website? Is it simply sensiblevision.com?
You have it, sir. Yes.
All right. George Brostoff, thank you so much for your time. Have a great February. Good chatting with you.
Thanks, Mark.
Or I should say, have a great rest of your February. We only have another week left of the month. What the heck happened there? And it's a leap year, no less, with a February 29th next weekend. That's right. Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed this week's Tech It Out. We had, I think, a very diverse lineup of guests. We had a doctor talk to us about sleep and technology. The president of Cadillac joined us to tell us about the 2021 Escalade. Uno, heated jackets, and then Sensible Vision about facial recognition and surveillance cameras. This program program is brought to you by ASUS, creating technology for today and tomorrow's smart life. ASUS, for those in search of incredible. Visit asus.com/US/radio for more info on its line of laptops, desktops, gaming gear, and a lot more. That's asus.com/US/radio. The company is pronounced ASUS, but if you want, you can call it ASUS, like all my friends do. Wishing you all a great rest of your weekend and looking forward to catching up with you next time on Tech It Out. Bye-bye for now.